Maybe YouTube. Maybe.
Maybe.
Hmm?
Nothing like hitting a TOT. And we're live. Hey, everybody. Welcome
Hey.
back to the One's Ready podcast. We are live, and we've already got 2 likes. So, I mean, I think we can call it quits now. We're
We're
good.
done. Yeah. Thanks, Mom.
Yeah. It's like I said, there's only like 10 people that actually watch, and I still get feedback on them, so it's good. So how you been? Hadn't seen you in a little while.
It's been good, just working on some stuff and doing some things. Obviously, I'm not in my home. But yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah, I actually wanted to talk to you about that and see kind of, I mean, obviously I know where you are, but other people don't know where you are. But, uh, you know, we throw out a lot of terms like PME or, professional military education and stuff like that. And there's certain milestones that you have to hit within the Air Force, whether you're enlisted or an officer. Um, and it's not necessarily milestones like, oh, I haven't gotten there yet, but it's a lot of it's rank based, a lot of it can be position based. Um, and so you're currently at Senior NCO Academy.
Yeah. I'm kind of scared to talk about it because, I'm there right now. What if I say something stupid and then they're like, dude, saw you live. What are you talking about? But
Yeah, but I mean, we don't have to talk about it. I figured you're kind of safe. It's not like you're going to, the pipeline.
yeah, no, no. I mean, it's good. Just out here in Alabama, we're about to start week 3, so, team dynamics and all those other things are basically all baked in, and we're working on new curriculum right now. So it's been interesting. So as an AATC nerd like me, at least it's interesting, and I think I've spouted off my opinion about PME on here before, but I'm maintaining a positive mental attitude, and good news is the people are awesome. So there's that.
That's good. That really does make PME. Maybe,
Yep.
yeah, okay. So the material you can go through it and that kind of stuff, and I'm interested to hear about and not that I would ask you the details of the curriculum now because I mean it's the first like this is the first class under the new curriculum, right?
Yep. Yep.
So I'm sure that there's going to be some adjustments made from there. So there's kind of no point for that, but it really is your people that you're in
Hmm.
class with that can make or break the experience for sure.
Well, it's just, and we've talked about in class, it's nice to be around your peers, because like we, at this rank, we are the problem, we are the others. But then, like, I'm not walking around a base full of people like me that just have time to sit down and chat about everything that's going wrong. And, you learn a lot from other people and all the other challenges and realize your life's really not that bad. Could be worse, certain other places in career fields. So it's a pretty positive experience so far. I will update later to let you know if it all goes to crap.
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, my time at the chief leadership course and then senior. Actually, I gotta say, I don't know that I've had a bad class or bad classmates during PME. Now, I have definitely seen others, like your sister classes or whatever, that come back and like,
Yeah.
dude, I can't stand these people, and you're like, wow, how? I mean, like that's hard for me to believe just because like I'm hanging out and chilling with the people that I'm in here with. Like it's pretty like they're okay people. They're pretty good people.
Yep. No, I'm,
But
I'm, I'm lucky. This one. NCOA was a little bit different. It was kind of like a 50-50 class, although we didn't have any big fights. But yeah, you look at some of those other classes and people are like actually getting to legitimate arguments about whatever, and getting all poopy pants about things. It's like, yo, like, try to have a good time.
try to at least. What's wrong? Alabama having an earthquake or what?
I don't know. Someone's knocking on something.
I,
Ah,
I
the
could hear
joys of
that.
being in billeting. Yeah.
So it's the joys of being in a hotel. It's great.
I'm loving it. So, what are we going to talk
So
about today? Real stuff, though.
yeah, we are going to talk about real stuff, and that's what we were kind of chatting about beforehand. But so we had covered it in the past, and I think it kind of needs to be readdressed as well, just because there's a new cohort of of people coming in or that are in development. I think we last did this kind of topic or glazed over this topic about 6 months ago or so. Um, and I think now that we got a new batch in, we got to readdress it because the three of us definitely get a lot of DMs, a lot of phone calls and stuff like that from not only people that are wanting to come in, but also from our buddies that are either currently serving or retired, and they're doing great work mentoring folks as well.
Yeah.
Mentoring folks at their local pool or their gym, or maybe they teach ROTC in high school or something like that. And they everybody's got somebody who's an absolute stud and could could legitimately be like physically a stud. Um, but they're still not in yet. Like they're passing the IFT. They could easily pass the IFT, and they're still not going in. And it's not because like, hey, I'm still in school or I'm still I'm waiting to graduate or something like that. Like some of it, I'm sure is, but
Yeah.
there's a group of folks that you're scared. You're scared to go in. I'll say it. Like
Well, at the very
you,
least, they're struggling to commit.
I had an Aaron moment there. Aaron would have said
Yeah.
it like and really would have burnt it right in.
Why are you so scared, man? What's
Yeah.
what's your problem?
But I mean, it's and by scared, it's okay, it's part of it's scared of the unknown, but really, I'm telling you right now, if we told you everything that would happen to you, you definitely would not come in.
No, definitely.
Like,
Well, because by the time you get to like step number 42, though, you're not going to be the same person. You're not going to be the person that has your experiences now. So, you run into that a lot, right? Where kids are looking towards the end of the pipeline, like, how could I ever get there? It's like you'll get there, but just understand that you're not going to be who you are right this second.
yeah, no, that's true. Um, like, and I'll just use an example. I got a call the other day from somebody, one of my best friends. He's retired, and he's mentoring a dude that can crush the IFT, and he hasn't come in yet, and he's been doing this for almost a year. Like he's been able to, yeah. So that okay, so that's an issue already. Like it's not like he's still in high school and he's waiting to come in. Like he's been doing this for a year on his own. He's not in development or anything like that, or or maybe he is now, but he hasn't been in development for a year. And he's he's talked to a couple. He follows people on whatever Reddit or whatever it is, and he's like, hey, and I talked to some friends that know people that know people that know people, and it's Air Force Special Warfare is crumbling and it's falling apart, and that it's a dumpster fire and stuff like that, and I don't know that I want to come in, if I'm going to come into that, and I also don't know if I want to come in under the current presidential administration and stuff like that. It's like, dude, one, those are probably just excuses. If they're not excuses, the fact that you would base whether or not you come in to do a job off an administration is a little bit wild to me. It's the same thing as dudes that get out or that separate with zero plan just because they didn't like the commander.
Yeah.
Like, who are you really hurting? Yeah, yeah, you really showed him. Like, boy, you stuck it to him. Like, come on.
Well, I mean, I get all those things because, like, I have feelings and opinions about everything. But at the team level and whether or not you want to serve, like, do you want to serve or not? Do you want to be in the military or not? Like, and spoiler alert, if you're in for 4 to 6 years, you're probably going to go through another president anyway. So every time we get a new administration, there's gonna be disappointments and things that are surprising and all these other things, and change is always going to be happening. So it's probably not what you think, and understand that the people that get on the internet and complain for the most part, they're only showing you, and I'm saying that there's goodness in it, right? We've talked about it all the time about some of the people pointing out the negatives, but that's all they're pointing out. are the negatives. Like if they have a great day or they go on some great training or whatever, and their team is awesome, they're not posting that stuff. Um, so yeah, I mean, you gotta understand that there's two sides of every coin, right? And what are you willing to do about whatever's happening? Like, what are you gonna do from the outside to make things better in the military, if that's a big concern of yours?
Yeah. Or other than, complain, criticize, and not come in.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
maybe you use some kind of excuse like, hey, I totally would have done it. I totally would have been a PJ if, you
Oh
know,
my gosh.
and I mean, but that's real because, and it may seem ridiculous to people out there, but those are legitimate conversations that we have had, and not just us. Like I'm talking,
Everybody.
pick any CCT, PJ, SR, TACP, whatever that's out there
Yeah.
that is either actively serving or retired, and they guarantee they have had that conversation with somebody. Dude, I would have done this, but I,
Yeah.
you know,
Well, the administration, it's like, well, are you moving to Canada then? They're like, no, no. Well, so the truth is, you're just comfortable where you're at, and you're finding an excuse to not do what you want to do.
yep,
Really, is that's what we're driving towards?
that's what we're driving towards.
The comfort's a killer, and your brain is gonna find every mistake, and it's easy to Instagram and follow all these people and know all the dudes in the community and kind of feel like you're part of it and get just enough out of that to want to stay in that comfortable state that you're at. Like you feel like you're kind of part of it, but you're not really part of it, and then you find an excuse to not actually do the hard stuff.
Yeah, being comfortable is a real issue, um, and it even gets people that are already like serving. If you're already in aspect war, like you will see people that have gotten comfortable and they've lost kind of that edge, if you will, to really grind it out and suck it up. I mean, and I'm saying that they can obviously have a baseline of suck it up, right? It's not
Yeah.
like they just, oh, they can't handle anymore. They always fall back on a baseline, but that ability to keep that want and need to continue to chase more and more and more, it does it. You do see it, and it dwindles in some people.
I mean, I think everybody goes through their ebbs and flows, right? Where you lose that intrinsic need to grind, and you start relying on external factors to push you to grind it out and to do what you need to do. And sometimes you have wake up calls where you go out there and you do an event, and it's hard, and you actually have to dig a lot deeper than you thought you needed to get through it. And you're like, oh, okay, and you start heading back up that wave again,
Yep.
of pushing yourself. But it's just one of those things.
Now, so in the same you know vein, if you will, uh, being critical of leadership, like
Oh yeah.
I think it's important. I think you've got to be critical of leadership, and I think there's a difference between complaining and being critical. I think there are two. It's one thing to complain, like, yeah, okay, we all complain. But if
Hmm.
I'm going to be critical of leadership, which I am, right? There are things
Yeah.
that our leaders have done that I do not like or I disagree with or I think could have been done better all day long. Like anywhere from folks that we've had on here, whether it's General Webb, Command Chief Thompson, Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force Bass. Like there are people that we have had on here that I have disagreed with about certain policies or the way things have been handled or something they've said. Um, but I'm not coming at them like this is this is this is bullshit. Like you know, and then that's it. Like I either provide objective criticism and a solution, or I just go, hey, I think that we could handle this a little bit differently, or whatever it is. And that's not just them at the higher level. That's anywhere from at the lower levels, the wing level, or group, or even squadron. It's just and in turn, I expect people to be very critical of me and the things I and the way I handle things as well, because I definitely have room for improvement
Yeah.
without a doubt.
Well, I think as enlisted folks, especially, like our job is to be the doers and the subject matter experts, right? And so the way that you go about criticizing something, or telling your leader that they're doing things wrong is you have to have that conversation. And if you're not that subject matter expert, you're just going to end up going in there and being like, I think it's stupid. We have to do this. And they're like, well, why? You're like, oh, because, just, like get your ducks in a row first, like have a real conversation about it, and know what you're talking about and have that solution. Having that solution is probably the most important part, because there's nothing more frustrating than someone walking into your office and being like, this is jacked up. And you're like, well, what do you want to do about it? They're like, well, I don't know, but it's not working the way it is. It's just like, man, you're just wasting both of our time. That's what it is. It's a waste of time and energy. They should be taking that energy out there as the SME that has to, touch this problem every day and figuring out a better solution, or at least coming to me and willing to have the conversation about it. And don't come at me being like, you need to fix this. I'm like, well, what are your suggestions? Because obviously this is the way I set it up, or this is the way the command team set it up, or whoever. And maybe we didn't see everything. So give me the data to fix it, but don't just come in here and complain about it. But those conversations absolutely need to happen. That being comfortable with awkward conversations and confrontational scenarios, however you deal with it. I'm not saying you have to go into Peach's office and start throwing down, but you need to be able to go in there and be like, "This is wrong," and and hope that they don't take it personal. And you also can't take it personal if you don't know what you're talking about. You go in there, and this is going to happen to you if you do this. You're going to walk in there and you're going to make an ass out of you. They're going to call you on it. You're going to be like, "Yeah, okay." But like if you take it all personal and just get butthurt about it, like it's not going to be beneficial for anybody. So like there's responsibility on every side of the who's being criticized and who's doing the criticizing. And really what it is problem solving. If you're not trying to problem solve, then what are you doing?
Yep. And the aspect that you brought up just now is somebody coming in your office or coming to you and saying, "Hey, I've identified a problem. I think that we could do it better," or whatever it is, right? If you do um, get butthurt about it or take it personally, like they're going to stop coming to you. And as soon as people that you as a leader work for, because they don't they don't work for you, you work for them. But
Hmm.
as soon as they stop coming to you, that means that you're now cut off,
Yeah.
and you are put in a hole. Nobody will come to you. Nobody will, whether it's good or bad, they are not going to come to you. And then you really got to worry because, yeah, you're not going to know what's going on within your organization.
Yeah. Yeah. You're gonna look stupid when you go to a meeting and someone's like, "Hey, I saw you guys doing this." You're like, what are you talking about? I don't know. Because they went out and solved the problem themselves if you're not gonna be part of the solution as the leader, right? So if they come to you like four times and you're just like, no, 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 or you don't have time or whatever, or you think you're better than that, and you're not helping them, you're not enabling them, you're not giving them the tools to solve the problems themselves, which is what they will do more often than not, then they will, you're like you said, they'll bypass you. They'll solve it by themselves, and they're willing to take the repercussions.
Yep.
And
And
but
the
you're gonna look stupid.
Yeah. And the other aspect of that is maybe you do come to that person and say, "Hey, this is dumb. I think we can do this better." And then that I hate the word leader, but using that term, that the leader, right, says, "No, we're doing it this way because X, Y, and Z."
Yep.
And perhaps those are variables that you just didn't have, right? Because you're seeing it from one aspect, and that person has seen it from your aspect, and they're receiving other input levels from different directions. And so now they have more variables to the equation and they're able to solve it. And it turns out that doing it, X way is better than your proposed Y way. So,
But that's what makes a healthy organization is
mhm,
if I come into the boss's office as a master sergeant and I'm like, hey, this is jacked up, probably because my guys want me to go talk to him. And he tells me the reasons why. It's easier for me to go back to my guys. I tell them why. Everybody has the reasons why we're doing what we're doing and not doing it another way. And that way it gets everybody on the same sheet of music. But that communication is key, and having a reason for everything. But just shutting people down, or getting hurt, or getting emotionally attached to solutions or processes because it was your idea, and that's one of the traps out there is like, oh, this is the way I think we should do it. And maybe you had that idea in your head for like years, and like maybe it just doesn't work in the organization you're at, and it doesn't work and people tell you about it. It's sometimes it's hard to let go of those things and not take it personally.
yep, for sure. I'm going to answer one of the questions in the chat. I'm going to answer it though, and then you pile on because I don't want to ambush you with this question.
All right.
Um, do you feel PME is worth it? Um, hmm. So yes and no. I think it could be done better. Again, and I'm saying that from somebody who has not seen the new curriculum, like just using. I mean, obviously, I haven't seen AL Airman Leadership School, NCO Academy, in
A
quite some
long
time,
time.
but I haven't seen the new curriculum at Senior NCO Academy. I About a year ago, I did the Chief Leadership course, um, and it's funny because they caveat it other than the networking, because that's what I was going to say. I was like, the networking for me, just because that's who I am, the networking was phenomenal. Right, I love going and meeting people, and you better believe I keep those contacts in my phone. And if I need something or if I have a question, I'm pinging them about it.
Yep.
I think some of the material could be not more relevant, but I think some of the material that is taught, I wish I had known at an earlier rank. Um, for example, like unit manning documents or how to flip positions and billets within an organization. Like I know how to do that now. I wish I had known how to do that kind of at least had an idea of how to do it as a master sergeant or an E7, maybe even E8. But like I felt, just using that as an example, I felt like I was behind the power curve, kind of having to learn that as a chief. And then, like, I mean, I still ping, like, we just had Tommy Case on, Chief Tommy Case. Like, we
Yeah.
released that episode yesterday. He came by my office because I asked him for help last week on something that I didn't know how to do. I mean, I've been doing this for better part of 2 years now, and something else came up that I hadn't learned before, which is very very simple. I just didn't know how to do it, and he came by and helped me. So there are still things that, and not that PME is going to be able to teach you every single little thing, especially in, is it 5 weeks or 6 weeks now?
5 weeks.
5 weeks. So they're not going to be able to handle every single variable that's there, but um, I just think that there has been some PME that, or some topics that could have been taught earlier. Now, I will caveat that with joint special operations universities, joint special operation universities, joint senior. Oh man, just SOFSI. I can't remember the acronym right now. It's really bad. It's like joint senior. Anyway, that is a really good course, but that's also a 6 months distance learning followed by 2.5 months in residence out in Tampa, Florida. So that was phenomenal, and that was also great for networking as well. But just regular Air Force PME, there you go.
Well, the reason you liked Jasofsky so much is because it was tailored towards what you do,
Yep.
right? And so like I think it's easy for us to come into Air Force PME and be like, this is worthless, like blah blah blah. I don't like this. This has nothing to do with me. Why are you teaching me this? I already learned this or whatnot. But when you think about the scope, um, like the Air Force isn't that big, so like having everybody having their own like senior NCOA or NCOA and ALS that's tailored to their specific organization and their skill sets is probably going to be a solution that's too expensive to execute. So while I don't get a lot of value most of the time out of a lot of the curriculum that's presented at these courses, at least the way it was through my career, the networking is always good, but like understanding the scope. But there is an opportunity to learn how other people do business while you're doing it. Seeing how the other students react to the curriculum and listening to their stories, which is not necessarily networking. It's just broadening my experience base. There's no reason why I can't come out of here with a few nuggets of how to do things a little bit better, and understand how what I do fits into the greater Air Force mission statement, and they gain an understanding from me about when all their stuff gets done and where it ends up on the ground. So you know, it's just like you get a new teammate, right? And you don't know what to do with them. What do? You find a reason, you find something that they're good at. You don't waste talent. You don't waste people. And so like why waste the opportunity when you're sitting in a classroom for 5 weeks at a time to just, automatically blow off all the curriculum. Try to find some goodness in it.
Exactly. Um, well, you sitting as a functional manager would have a better beat on this question. I'm sorry. I'm kind of transition because I read the questions. I'm like, I don't want them to disappear because they're, you know, they scroll. But
No,
um,
hit it.
there was okay. Somebody's got a mentor. He was a former SEAL. This one goes out to Reese Hood. Anyway, told me to go into the army because there are so few aspect war jobs. Could you elaborate?
What does that
I,
mean?
I don't even that I don't know if that means like slots. I'm not exactly sure what that means, but I mean we have four jobs within aspect war.
Yeah, I'll
Like
let you know when we're full. You know, I'll be the first one to come on here and be like, "Psh, I don't know why I'm doing this now because, like, obviously we don't need any more people. We're done. Cup's full, mission accomplished."
yeah,
But
the
that's
the s-
never gonna happen.
the slots have never been filled up.
No.
Um, and it's been that way for the SEALs and the Army too. That like I
Hmm.
mean, hell, the Army just like overall recruiting goals, they missed it by 85,000
Yeah.
the other month or something like that. Like that's crazy. So there's no lack of jobs. Uh, in aspect war, Green Berets, Rangers, SEALs, Marine Raiders, like there's plenty of work to do.
Yeah. And I get it. There are a lot more SEALs and Green Berets and Rangers than there are us. But, you know, we were always accepting candidates to see if, to get what we need. We never get enough of what we need.
No, no, never. And it's kind of weird too because the our attrition rate, from what I understand, and I'm probably speaking out of turn without data here, but like our attrition rate hasn't changed either. Um, things have not gotten easier, have not gotten harder. Is that incorrect?
I think the numbers are pretty similar to the way that they've always been if you holistically look at it. I mean, it's hard. So, if anybody goes and tells you that the ANS is easier than NDoc or whatever, and I'm sure we could blame it on generational softness or whatever else it is and the kids that play video games. But yeah, the numbers are about the same.
No. We are working to get some. We are working to get the special warfare, the new command team for the special warfare training wing on to chat about uh, now that they've been in the seat for a little over 90 days to give their kind of first 90-day look back. So it'd be interesting to see what they, because they're not like by trade. They're I know the commander, Colonel Kalunga. He is an aviator. I believe MC-130 by trade.
Hmm.
And I'm not sure what command chief, what her
Security
background
forces.
is. Security forces. Okay,
Hmm.
so objectively looking at it, I'm really curious to see what they see and what they think and where they want to take the organization. Um, it's not necessarily, this is probably controversial within my own community, but like it is not a bad thing to have somebody from the outside come in and take an objective look at what you're doing
No.
because they can see things that maybe you're not seeing because we are stuck with almost with blinders on. Now, if somebody from the outside comes in and starts just day one, like just tearing things apart, yeah, that's an issue.
Yeah.
But so far, I don't think that that's happened.
No.
So, and
No.
and Special Warfare Training Wing is not the first one to do this either. Like we within the 24th Special Operations Wing, they have brought in now Colonel Allison Black, who's the first Special Operations Wing commander. Like I think she was the first kind of outsider. I'm probably wrong on that, but like she's the only one that comes to mind that was in a leadership role like she was in. She was the deputy wing commander, making
Yeah.
decisions and making moving special tactics officers all over the place. And guess what? It was great. She was fantastic. So like I don't, you know. Anyway, I'm rambling.
Well, it's just like we say it all the time. You can have the guy that downrange is the best, the absolute best in the world. But stateside, like in the team room, when it comes to managing things and making things happen the right way and all these other things, maybe not the best personality, stateside. And so, like, to think that we always have every solution in every situation, especially when we're talking AETC, for training our folks, which is pretty far away from the X. There's nothing wrong with getting other people in there, and the rest of the organization. It's a huge organization. The rest of the organization has plenty of special warfare, bros and broettes in there to make sure that we don't our culture isn't like crushed or whatever we're worried about.
Yeah, for sure. Um, there's a question on here that are there opportunities? Man, can't talk. Are there opportunities to take leave throughout the pipeline? With some of the pipelines being so long, I'm curious how short of a leash candidates are kept on. Well, this is me talking, but uh, the instructors want to have time off too. They enjoy Thanksgiving, they enjoy Christmas, New Year's, um, and they don't want to be around you. Sorry.
Don't be sorry.
So, it, the way I've seen it, and you probably have more update information, but if you, the problem is you're not going to have very much leave stored up. Like, for example, you earn 2.5 days per month of leave. So once you leave basic, you have probably 5 days in the bank, right? Which you're not going to be able to take leave right after basic. But
Nope.
like, as you're going through the pipeline, if you have leave built up over Christmas and there's not a class going on or anything like that, like you're going to be able to take leave up to the point that you have those amount of days. What I This is me talking. What I did was instead of me taking leave so that I could bank up and get a bunch of days, is I had family come out to see me. It's a little bit more expensive, maybe a little bit more selfish, but just on long weekends or weekends that are federal holidays, and obviously clearing it through instructors. Um, my parents or and my brother came out over long weekends, so
The other Petrus.
yes,
Is that
the
what we
other
call your
one.
brother? Yeah, I mean it's like anything else, right? It's if you're not even in yet and you're worried about leave, my first reaction is like, what are we talking about? Like, I get it that some of these people don't understand like how much time of their life is going to be required, especially the first few years, to get to the level that they need to be to do the job. But yeah, yeah, you do get leave during like Christmas, or if you're in between courses and you need to take leave and all that other stuff, and it is what it is. But that's not something I'd really be focusing on. Like, oh, how fast can I get back home? Like, I get it, and I get that people have situations where there's people that need to be taken care of and all these other things. But I think the majority of it, if you're just asking when you can go back and hang out with your friends or see your family or whatever, it's like, not as much as you want, almost guaranteed.
No. And how many of your friends are you actually? Man, I'm gonna get one with my one friend from high school, the only one I talk to still. I'm gonna get him upset, but really, I have zero in common. After being in
Yep.
the Air Force for a year and going through NDOC at the time, like I had zero in common with anybody back home because I
Mm.
had grown so much as a person because the um, amount of shit I had been through NDOC and all the schools and all the people from all over the country that I'd met, I had nothing in common. Like I had grown so much more than them. They were still smoking weed in their parents' house, living in their parents' house, like in the attic kind of thing. And talking about like, oh yeah, so and so got in a fight or whatever. Like, dude, I was so far beyond that.
Yep.
Um, yeah, whatever.
It's weird.
It is weird,
Yeah.
and it's weird how fast it happens.
Well, like you said, your aperture opens so much. Like I mean, you culturally, and then if you go home and you try to tell someone a story, and it's going to happen to almost everybody. They're going to be like, "Oh, what are you up to?" And you say something, they're going to either react like, "I can't believe you do that. You're crazy," or they'll be like, "That doesn't sound that bad." And you're just like, "Man, like, were you there?" like it's a shared experience that you can't share with people back home. So you almost kind of want to get back to your teammates so you can talk about stuff.
Yep. Um, Here's a question from Chris. Will officer cross trainees eventually go through SWIC?
We don't know.
I mean, that's valid. I mean, we're the officers are making those decisions.
Well, when you talk about the number of officers, and this is just Trent talking, when you don't have officer instructors in the pipeline, it's really difficult to get enough enlisted people to like we have a hard enough time getting enough instructors into the pipeline from the operational side of the house as it is. And now one of the biggest, most resource intensive courses in the pipeline, you're like, oh, we want to add, and I know it doesn't sound like a lot, but like say you want to add like 30 or 40 bodies per year into that course. That requires like another instructor, requires more resources, requires more beds, all these other things, and you know, I'm not sure how necessary it is.
There you go. I mean, you've got more of a beat on it than I do. So, but I will say that the pipeline is ever evolving and things change constantly. I mean, from ANS to ANS, from SWIC to SWIC, they are changing things. In fact, I just talked to um, I won't say his name because he's been on the podcast, but he didn't want his name or his face out there. But he was the SWIC instructor, and he gave me the recent he gave me the recent feedback from the SWIC class that he was the proctor of, and the attrition rate had gone up significantly, and there were some folks asking some questions of why that was, and I guess he just held people accountable a little bit more and wasn't quite as lenient on folks from what I gather. So
Yeah, but something to keep in mind is the overall pipeline attrition rate didn't change, and so
right,
where
right.
it happens is whatever. But yeah, there's that. So,
Yeah, I was going to try and find the actual numbers, but then I'd probably be releasing some info that probably doesn't need to get out there. Let's see.
yeah, let's not do that.
Yeah, yeah, let's not. Uh, the higher rank you are, the more administrative work you have to do. Yes, that is up to a certain point. Like senior airman to staff, you have a little bit. Staff to tech, you have a little bit more. There's the biggest jump is probably tech to master. You probably have more, but once you get to where Trent and I are at, like, dude, it's all admin.
Yep, it's pretty
Well, it's
exciting.
not all admin. There's just more admin, and then like I try and spend as little time behind the computer as I possibly can, just because I want to go out there and just chat with people and try and fix problems that normally they would not bring to me. Like because they're like, he's too busy, or didn't have time, or hell, I'm just traveling my ass off, so I'm like hardly ever in my office. Yeah.
Yeah, but he's definitely not
Um,
on team.
no, I am definitely not on team. Can I keep up with some of them? Probably not. Those guys are probably wrecking me now.
Mhm.
My son is turning 15. My son is 15, turning 16 next week. He can't enter delayed. No, he's got to be 17. Jared Phillips, he's got to be 17. You can't get him in the door any earlier than that. In fact, a recruiter won't even talk to him until he's 17 because at that point he's kind of wasting the recruiter's time. I mean, he just like I mean, it really is. He's just wasting the recruiter's time at that point. But I will say, when he does turn 17 and he does go visit the recruiter for the first time, do not go in there with him. Let him
When
flee. Let him succeed or fail on his own.
yeah,
Don't go in there to the recruiter with him because we have seen and again, this is like 6 months ago, we did this exact same topic because some of the feedback that we were getting from the recruiting squadron and what yeah from the yeah it was from the recruiting squadron was
mhm,
that there was a rash of parents going into the recruiting office with their son or daughter sitting there and answering the questions for their son or daughter. The recruiter is there to talk to the recruit, i.e., your son or daughter, not you. So, are there questions that you can answer that your son or daughter probably can't just because of like, hey, medical history or family history or whatever? Sure, but those questions can be answered later on. They don't need to be answered right there. Allow your son or daughter to be an adult and handle business on their own, and then back brief you on
Yeah.
what the conversation was, because then if there's something fishy, then you can probably start like, hey, you should probably ask them this question, or that doesn't sound right. And if it doesn't sound right, then you can ask us, because we're going to tell you exactly how it is. But like 99% of the recruiters, especially on the aspect war side of the house, they they are honest, and they don't they need you to come in. Trying to figure out how I should say this correctly.
I don't know.
we need we need folks to come in, but there's also so many folks trying to come in that we don't necessarily need you to come in there and handhold your son or daughter. I think that's where I was getting at. But
Yep. I mean, it's just good training. It's good life training just to send them in there by themselves and see how they react. You know, like can they maintain eye contact? It's like the little things. You know, are they shaking hands? Are they sitting the way that they should? Are they speaking to adults the way that adults speak to each other? And if they mess it up the first few times, it's fine. It's a recruiter. They can keep going back. The recruiter's not gonna kick them out of their office and tell them they can never come back. Use it as a learning opportunity to go take care of business by yourself. Send them to the DMV by themselves when they have to get their driver's license or whatever. It's good for them.
whoa, that is a good one. Especially because if you're worried about them signing anything in the recruiting office that they shouldn't be signing, it's not. We're gone are the days where you sign in on a Friday, you go into the recruiter's office on a Friday, and you're shipping out on Monday. That does not happen anymore, and that hasn't happened for years. So, like, if they sign something, they still, for whatever reason, if they did sign something that was not appropriate, like, they're not held to that.
There's nothing binding in that. It's like when your car salesman does the four square thing on the piece of paper and you work out all the numbers and they just want you to sign it so they can take it back to the manager to be like, this person's serious about this and this is what they would be willing to do. Like that's all it is.
Yeah. Uh, do people in their 30s have a real chance of joining special warfare? Yes.
Can we just start saying no to this question and never answer it again? Sorry.
Yeah, that was awesome.
What if we just start saying no? Like what are you gonna do? Not join? How about you just commit and find out?
Oh, all right. I
Okay,
feel like
so obviously, if you're over 30, I put you on a shorter leash of common sense than I do. If you're like 17 asking questions, if you go see the recruiter, I'll probably talk you through it. If you're like, does a 30-year-old have a real chance? I'm like, I don't know. Adult, go find out. Like, do you want to do it? Then just go do it. You know what the age is that you can join up until. So like if you want to do it, just go do it. What do you mean a real chance? It's 100% up to you. Don't come at me with this. Yeah.
Yep. All right, cool. I'm gonna go back to Jared Phillips real quick. Hey, if you really want your son to get some extra PT training because he's not getting ROTC, check out 18alphafitness.com, 18alphafitness.com. Use the promo code the number one ready, and he's got a ton of training plans on there for Rangers, SEALs, MARSOC Raiders, and especially Aspect War. And then you can get him a training plan that's tailored to him. Um,
Hmm.
and then Kevin, who runs 18 Alpha Fitness, he's a prior Green Beret, so he's a complete stud. Um, he tailors the programming to your son based off of the timeline that he needs. And since he's 15, turning 16 next week, like, he's got a lot of time to get ready. So, and at least you'll get a discount on the codes. So, and Kevin will keep training him for as long as he needs. But yeah, I would go that route.
That sounds like a fantastic Christmas present to give to your child. Is a program from 18 Alpha Fitness.
That's actually really good. I'm terrible at Christmas presents or birthday presents, but that actually is a very good point. Hmm. Just
Just
throwing it
saying.
out there.
Yeah.
Let's see. Um,
Or if
I'm
you're in
sorry,
your
I'm just
30s and
scrolling
your
through here.
spouse is asking
There's a lot of
questions,
stuff. What's that?
or if you're in your 30s and your spouse is asking questions, get them Kevin's program, you know?
Oh, oh, what? Spouses asking questions about like what it's like
Yeah.
or how much you actually need to train.
There you go. Kev will let you know.
Um, I've heard rumors about a 9Z AFSC.
Are they
Um,
talking about the support AFSC to keep
it must
people
be
in
something about CMS being a special duty. Oh, okay.
you know,
I know what Irvin Chung is talking about here. Do you have any more data on it than I do? So
not really.
I don't know if there's going to be a 9Z like AFSC. Some of the combat mission support, or what is being now dubbed as SWIMS, Special Warfare Mission Support. Some of those members do get SDAP, the special duty pay. Not all of them, unfortunately, but I know that that is an initiative that they are wanting to go through. Where it's at right now in terms of approval and making the changes, I actually have no idea, but I have heard that, and hopefully the SDAP would increase with some of those swims folks, but
Yeah.
right now only a handful of them get it, and I couldn't even tell you off the top of my head which AFSCs get it. um but yeah.
We were having a hard time. So like when AFSOC finds talent, they want to hang on to talent. You know what I mean? But it's not always the best move career wise for these folks to stay in AFSOC for too many years. You know what I mean? Because of what they're doing. So they've been trying to find the solution for a long time to like when people come over and they fit in and they do a really good job. Like how do we hang on to these people? How do we incentivize them? And how do we make sure that they have career progression after this or during this, so that we're not just moving people through all the time. But we get very jealous of our talent.
That is true. We like to hang on to it. Let's see, what's another one here? Does Aspect War have CDCs?
Do you all have CDCs right now?
I think we do. I talked to Chief Sadler a couple weeks ago, and there were new ones going to be put out, but uh, he didn't like they needed some updating, and so he was going to pull them. So currently, I don't know if folks are taking them right now.
Yeah, that's one of the things on the SR side that we still haven't knocked out, and it requires a discussion every year to decide if we're going to do CDCs or just do upgrade events. And I think right now we're upgrade events, and not CDCs based on the time constraints we had standing up the career field.
Yeah. Please do not quote me on the CCT side of the house. Um, just because, like I said, I had that conversation with the career field functional manager a couple weeks ago, and I don't know where it's at right now. So please don't hold me to that because I could be wrong, which does happen quite a bit.
Yeah.
No, green eyes. If you're 40, you can't get in unless you have prior service, and then you can subtract the time that you had as a prior service, and if it takes you below 39, then you're good. But if you're already 40 and you've never been in, you're shit out of luck.
Yep.
At,
There we go. That one was easy.
yeah. At what point do you know that you are really in, or can you fail at any portion of the pipeline? I mean, you can. I mean, you're in once you get select. I guess it depends on what we're defining as in, right?
I
Um,
mean,
you are in the pipeline once you get selected from ANS, but then at the same time, like, are you in the pipeline if you're at SWIC and ANS? Like, or are you in once you get your beret and you graduate and you arrive to your first team? Like,
I
you're
would Yeah. The majority of the attrition happens dive school and back, right? But mindset wise, I would never tell someone that they're in,
Mm-mm.
like after you get out of the pipeline, you're not in. You can still be removed from the career field, like there's still requirements that you have to meet. But yeah, post ANS and pre dive and dive, we don't see a lot of attrition after that, and we're not actively trying to get rid of people. Not like we're really trying to do that in ANS. We're just seeing what they are, but um, yeah, but I think that's the tipping point is dive school.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, that's where you definitely see the attrition rate go down. Now there are some people that have still quit, which is
Hmm.
very unusual. Um, but we found that it's a lot of comes from not from the events that they've got to do or the schools that they got to do. There's usually some external pressures that are involved with those folks that are end up quitting after dive school.
Yep, life happens.
Yeah, for sure. Well, let's see. Trent is dropping bombs. No, that's my job, not Trent's.
Sorry, I'm like I am not a JTAC anyway. Here's
I
what
am
I
not a
need.
qualified JTAC.
Yeah, please drop bombs on these people over here.
Let's see. I like this because there's a lot of folks in here that actually, because we take so long to answer the damn questions and get to them, that they actually answer for us. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's the ones ready
Uh,
community. It's a beautiful thing.
dude, I'm telling you, like I was on Discord this morning. Just I peruse it just to check and see if there's any mentions or anything like that, right? And somebody somebody on there had put kind of like a downer. The best way I can describe it, kind of like a sad or a downer kind of post, and immediately you could see people like jumping in and going like, "Hey man, you okay? You need to talk? You like we can hop on a phone call. We can do this. Um, which I don't think in the past, and I think that's a recent thing, probably in the last 5 years or so. I don't think
Mm,
that was a thing. I know that wasn't a thing like when I was going through, and these people
no.
don't know each other either.
Well, so here's the thing with like the current generation, right? They're so comfortable not doing face to face and like being involved in everybody's lives. And we when these people show up and maybe they're not the best face to face people on earth, but it doesn't mean that they're not somehow in some ways better than our generation was. You know what I mean? And then yeah, I love seeing the positive, the PME mob out there trying to help people out and lift everybody up. And but they also call each other out on their BS, which is
Which is
fantastic.
also funny.
Yeah.
But I mean, we've talked about it before. Like you and I have only met twice in person,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? I think twice. Yeah.
Maybe 3 times. I don't know. Yeah.
Okay. Eh, Like for probably a total of 3 hours, maybe.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
so you can establish quality friendships and relationships over a digital space. That is a thing, which is funny because if you had said that 10 years ago, the people would have said there's no way. But I think that the technology has helped us get to that point where we can absolutely do it, and it's a viable thing.
Well, and in like the Discord, you have a whole bunch of people on there trying to do like the same kind of thing, right? And with you and I and Aaron, like we all know people that know each other. And it's like, hey man, is this dude a POS or is he a good dude? And blah blah blah. And so like having that shared foundation, I think helped us out a lot too.
Oh, for sure. And whether it's the Discord or Reddit or YouTube, Instagram, whatever, you know, you got a bunch of people that we said it before, and you've heard other people that are way smarter than us say it, that surround yourself with people that are like-minded in terms of chasing after the same goals that you want to chase after. Like that's essentially what you're doing when you enter into some of these forums or discords or whatever it is, because these are all people that want to do or are at least interested in supporting what you want to go do. And so they're going to be there to help guide you or help, act as a sounding board for you or whatever it is. So though you can't be physically with somebody, at least you're there in a digital version of some,
Yeah.
you know,
In the metaverse.
oh, the metaverse. Here we go.
Yeah.
Um, okay, I think that's all the questions. Is there anything else you wanted to hit topic wise?
Um, I'd written down something like before we started, like the dangers of binary thinking,
Mm,
and I think it's a trap that we fall into a lot. Just the and it kind of goes into commitment, thinking that like if I do this, this happens, or this is good and this is bad, and categorizing events and people that way. So like I'm always trying to encourage people to like work on their brain, right? Because for me, that's always my biggest obstacle is getting past myself. And think about how you think about things. If you think about like we keep talking about the near peer environment a lot. It's like the hot topic in the national security strategy and the NDS and all that other stuff. And if you look at that and you just say, oh well, like Russians are bad, you know, and then you're like they're bad. We want to like no, like do some education, educate yourself, and figure out that they're just people. Because I think once if you do the binary mindset, you have a tendency to underestimate people or not understand why they're doing what they're doing, and understanding their motivations and where they're coming from, and knowing that they're just people just like you. It gives you a greater sense of what they are capable of. Not just like, oh, these are bad people that need to die. It's like, no, no, no. Like, I'm not saying that that's not the case, but understanding more about them, and making that 3D environment in your brain about what you're getting yourself into, it helps me anyway. It helps me understand, how things operate, and not think of things in binary terms and like good and bad, um, and getting after it. And I think that's how I try to find the good in everything. Is it's like PME is not like, oh, PME sucks and I'm just going to come here and not get anything out of it. It's like, well, see the bigger picture, look around. What are they trying to do? What are the opportunities here? And understand what's really going on, and find the opportunities and the goodness there, and the education there, to be more effective myself and to affect other people or situations in a better way. Does that make any sense at all?
it does because it's when you do think in a binary fashion, like it is easier to just say, all these people are pieces of shit, or all these people should die, or whatever it is, right? It is
Hmm.
easier to just do that instead of take a step back and critically think that, like, hey, things are not it's not binary. It's complicated, and there's a lot of nuances in it that you have to navigate. And there is not one, I mean, you could look at politics. There's not one policy, right? One law or one policy that is perfect for every single person, for every American, right? There are some that maybe it's a majority thing. Like, hey, the law helps out the majority of these people, but there are still these other folks that um, either can't take advantage of the law, or that law or policy doesn't help them out,
Right.
um, because there is not one. You said it. I mean, I don't know how else I could better say it. Things are not binary in life.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think people need to get after that. But it's also like in my brain, that's also connected to like centralized control and decentralized execution, right? Like the more complicated you make things, the higher up, the less flexibility you're giving people down below. You know what I mean? And so, as a leader, or as anybody else, or if you're critiquing your leaders, being like, hey, like all I need from the boss is the intent, and we got the rest of it, and like we can handle all that stuff. But like we're in the three-dimensional environment. So when you're up there in the 2D environment and the admin environment, and you're trying to tell us like how to do our job, like you're just getting in the way. And so like there needs to be like some trust and some decentralized execution, ability and flexibility and responsibility, to effectively get the mission done. So understanding like kind of where you're at in the chain, and how deep you need to go down that rabbit trail is important as well. I'm not sure that really connects, but it does in my head.
Well, I mean, I think it connects, um, through a couple different avenues, but the whole trust thing, that's what it comes back to. Okay, so my current organization has 9 different locations across the U.S. right? I mean, yeah, okay, so the commander of the weapons school still owns, still has certain authorities, and still has oversight and command at a group level over all of these squadrons. Um, but each of those commanders, those squadrons, also are on G series orders and have authorities that they can execute on. Um,
Yep.
so the weapons school commander gives intent, and then the others execute. He doesn't tell them how to do it. He just says, "Hey, these are the list of priorities, lines of effort, or things that we need to get after that I think are important, and I think that we need to get after." And he aligns those with the NDS. He aligns those with um, Chief of Staff of the Air Force Brown, and then all the way up, like just keep going up the chain, and he's aligned the weapons school with that. Um, but they don't tell us how to do it. They trust that we will do it and execute it and get after it, um, just like we do with the squadron commanders and the squadron senior enlisted leaders and so on. Like, man, can you imagine if you know CQ Brown or Chief Brown was just like, okay, you're going to do this and you're going to do it exactly like this, and then you're all the way through all the generals, through the chiefs, through like
Yep.
nothing would get done. It would be a terrible organization. That is why we have. I mean, if we're going to use current conflicts, that is why the NCO core or the enlisted core, but especially the NCO core, is so important. So
Hmm.
important because if you are a country that is in a conflict that does not have good structure, good enlisted force structure, good NCOs, then you're going to be on the struggle bus.
Yep.
I,
Oh, other countries constantly ask our folks like, how do we make NCOs like yours? I don't understand how you guys do this. Because we don't. I don't have to call up 8 levels up my chain of command to do anything. Like that authority gets pushed all the way down in the right environment, right, to do whatever you need to do, and you're trusted to make the right decisions, and you're trusted, that the decisions that you make, like the people above you, are like, well, I wasn't there, and if this is what as long as it's not egregious, then they're like, hey, you made a call, good
yep.
job. And it's just something that culturally does not exist in most of the world, especially militarily.
No,
So
and one of the ways we do that is to send people to professional military education. Like that is one of the ways that we do it, and that's what we call a circle back, folks, uh, in the old biz. But yeah, so that is one of the ways that we do it. Is we send people like so we can get a baseline or a rebluing, what we call it. We send people to PME or professional military education at numerous levels. For enlisted side, it's Airman Leadership School as an airman, the NCO Academy or the Non Commissioned Officer Academy when you're a staff, well, actually, when you're a tech is when you go. And then Senior NCO Academy when you're E78. And then we have Chief Leadership School for chiefs. And then there's the Summit. And then we have SOCOM has its own courses, like a whole catalog of courses. Officers have a whole bunch of different schooling too. They actually have more than the enlisted, but um, like that's how we all get it at least on a baseline so we know where we're going. So um, we appreciate everybody joining us. Unless you had any parting shots there, Trent.
no, no, go ahead and commit, y'all. It'll be okay. Just
Yeah,
do it.
you go be all right. It'll be all right. And if it's not, you can. I don't know. If it's not, it's not the end of the world. But um, appreciate you joining us. Appreciate the questions on the chat. Um, in the future, we would like to do these a little bit more often, but sometimes schedules just don't allow. So appreciate you joining us. Please leave a review, like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Check out all of our folks that we collab with. We've got Trench Coffee Company, we've got 18 Out Fitness, we've got Attack Elite, we've got Hoist, Eberly Stock, and then Outer X pomade. Like, and each one of those have promo codes. Some of them, most of them are ones already. Some of them are different. Oh, Cardomax as well. So, like, go check them out. They're all friends of ours, so we're not just some randos. Like, we all know people within those organizations, or if not, in the organizations, like they run the organization. So
Yeah.
check them out and appreciate you joining us. We're out here.
Later, y'all.